Okay, then I'll start recording. Okay, let's get back a tiny bit so we can see what your comp is. You'll be playing. Gran is going to swap to Deva, and then you'll playing this comp. Okay. Okay. So if you look at your comp, what's one of the things that you would say that you have to watch out for with your comp? Beastmaster. I can't hear you very well. What's it?
I'm shooting.
Ah, okay. But looking at this comp, like, what is the things that you, as a main tank player, would say, like, hey, I need to watch out for this?
Going forward.
Going what?
Not going too far in,
Mm-hmm.
because she will stay with Farah and not.
Exactly.
She will
Mm-hmm.
always.
And on top of that, you also have a Lucia, which means you don't have, like, Discord Orbs, so damage amplification. So, you know, you're not going to maybe get as much healing as you like normally like, maybe, and you're also not really going to get very quick duels because you don't have Discord Orb.
Yeah,
Let's
but I
keep that in
believe
mind.
we were afraid that Armor would get caught out too much because we had bad experience.
Yeah. I mean, if Lucia if Lucia works for you guys, that's perfectly fine, of course. But it's something to keep in mind as a tank player, whether you play with Lucia or Zen.
We need Diva then, though. Okay, sorry.
I guess audio.
Sorry?
Audio.
You're disappearing sometimes.
Yeah, you're cutting out a lot.
Fine, let me start this call.
Okay, so now we've seen a Fire Strike, we've seen Lucio thingies, and we've seen Farah, which means they'll likely have a Mercy as well. Okay, he's reconnecting. Let's wait until he's back. Hello?
There, that better?
A tiny
Yes.
bit, yeah. Okay, so now you've seen a Fire Strike, you've seen Farah, and you've seen Lucio. So, based on that, you're probably going to run into Farah Mercy, and probably a Zarya as well, seeing as you're running Reinhardt. So there's only one pick that you're not sure of, which is the off DPS, but already telling that, you know it's going to be kind of hard to dive onto them, because Farah Mercy will not be in your reach, Lucio is going to be very hard to dive, Reinhardt's not very easy to dive, and the likely Zarya will also not be an option. So they need to look at the last DPS and see what they have. So here's Team Bubble. Sorry, I've seen. And you know now that I have a Tracer, okay. Let's, I'll rewind this in a second.
Get out.
Oops, I need to actually go forward 20 seconds. Okay, so now you see the enemy team comp. Pretty tough to dive into, but like, what target of the enemy team would you consider to be a good dive target right now?
Spot. Not quite sure. Either one of the other one.
You're cutting out again. One of the what?
Just on this microphone.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the tanks bait out the amp.
Yeah, or like bait out the bubble, something like that.
Or that.
Yeah. So I think preferably you'd be looking at diving the Zarya when she doesn't have a bubble, and then the Reinhardt. Simple reason being is that Reinhardt has more HP and he has damage reduction with his armor, whereas Zarya does not have that. The rest of the team is basically not very diveable. Farmers will be in the air, Tracer zips around, and Lucius is very tough to dive. So let's rewind your engagement here, if you will. Okay, so we're going in, we're going to check what comp they have. You see Reinhardt, and you see Farah. Okay, so by now I'll be looking at taking up a different position. Let's quickly load the Nepal map. This one's good. Okay, so if the enemy team, I'll put them with pink crosses. If the enemy team is playing a duff ball, like you said, like in the close choke here, and your two tanks are now standing right here, that's not really ideal, because then you're fighting Reinhardt and Zarya like at front face, and you're fighting them in their strong point when they're just holding this choke. And because you have Tracer and Farah Mercy, you can get quite a lot of mobility in the map. So, for instance, you, can go on the elephant statue, someone can go right side, Tracer can flank wherever, and Farah can fly over the point and whatnot. So one of the things I'll be looking at doing initially here, if you see you're playing against a Reinhardt, is try to take up different angles on the map rather than trying to fight Reinhardt like up front. Because if you fight them like in this little choke here, Reinhardt Zarya is going to win 10 out of 10 times, basically, just because their character is more suited for it. Whereas with your comp, it's stronger if you try to outpace their comp by using your mobility and using different angles.
Blindside.
In this case, you get hit by a rocket, unlucky. Kind of like take some poke. So this is a bit of a two-way street. Like, because you're playing dive comp, you have to be kind of quick in getting your value, because you don't want to get Zarya high charge. You want Ryan to get like an Earth Shatter to get positioned. So preferably, you don't want to wait around for too long before diving in, because that gives them the opportunity to set up. But on the other hand, you also need to, of course, still take the good dive moment. So right now, you're taking some damage, and by the time you actually decide to dive in, you've taken a bit of damage, and as you can see, because of the way you had to dive in here, it's your 1 in 5 seconds. In this case, you have to dive in from the front side, so you dive to Zarya. And when Winston lands, he pushes people in the outward direction from the epicenter of the jump. So in this case,
Yeah, that I know.
then, yeah, but then you do push her away. You lost one already, but you kind of dove in with relatively low HP. Like, you dove in with 400 HP, and you were still being attacked at the time. So as you can see, you got shredded quite quickly, and part of the reason was, I guess, like, your team initially was not positioned ideally, because you had to dive like frontside through Reinhardt Zarya through all the spam, whereas you could have maybe taken different angles of approach for a better outcome. On top of that, what I would advise is be a bit quicker in your, like, when diving in, because if you don't really commit to a fight but just kind of walk around and taking some poke damage, it's not very beneficial to Winston, because you cannot really dive in when you're not full HP.
I think I will die soon.
Maybe you should go to Widow. They have a power.
So Tillman's going to go Widow.
And their comp is not very, mobile.
And on top of that, like, if you saw the way you jumped to Zarya, if you would have taken the left flank or the right flank, it would have been easier to push her towards the team, and you could have body blocked her around the pillar, so you would not have pushed her away. So you need to use that mechanic to your advantage, if you will. Okay, this is fine, just keeping the Tracer at bay. And here the same thing happens. Let's
I know.
half HP.
No, this is the moment I jumped.
Yeah, but it's basically the same story. Like, you kind of dive the front side and then push the enemy like away, so you're out of your effective range. But also you were diving in with half HP, which is very risky as Winston. And because of that, now you've already dropped your bubble, and the enemy team got pushed away a bit, so they're no longer in your effective range. Like, you push all these people away, at least you speed amps them out, so now they're out of your range. You have no bubble and you have no jump, and you're kind of low on HP. So that's one of the things you have to keep in mind now.
She was missing.
And she was resing, but like, in this case you put yourself in a very awkward situation, because you were low on HP, you didn't have any abilities left, and you didn't have anyone to attack in range. So Winston's not really strong in that situation, no one would be.
Kill the message on the left.
I'm not sure if we should continue or are we winning this yet?
No, we're not.
We are not.
It's really important that you. I know you wanna flank with Sarah,
Let me
but
quickly pause when you guys put the team comp on again.
no, we're not.
We are not.
So it's a bit harder to dive with your comp currently. There's several things you can do. You know that the enemy team is basically running a relatively similar comp, but then with lower mobility tanks. But on top of that, they have Tracer instead of the Widowmaker. And because Pharah can like do some splash damage, but she cannot really effectively finish off targets oftentimes, and Widow cannot really go with you on the same target oftentimes. So you're probably looking at waiting for the Pharah to hit a direct rocket on a squishy, or on like 2 shots on the tank, and then finishing the tank off. Or you're looking to protect your Widowmaker if they really hardcore commit into attacking your Widowmaker. But diving their team aggressively is very risky, because you know it will be very hard for your own DPS to follow up. If you're playing with like Tracer Genji, you can dive a lot more aggressively just because you have more follow up, but in this case you have to be very cautious, because your Widowmaker and Pharah cannot follow you as effectively, and when you dive in, there's a very good chance that the enemy Tracer will just get to your Widowmaker or your backline.
Where is your dad?
Okay, behind you.
I can show it.
I'm gonna move the right.
Okay, so if you steam bubble,
Zarya maybe?
Yourself
Zarya
bubble.
Zarya bubble. Push to Zarya, push to Zarya. Zarya.
Okay. It's a bit unlucky that you got poked down a bit. I like the calls to go for Zarya here.
Zarya in a bubble, Zarya in a bubble. Push to Zarya, push to Zarya. Zarya.
You just get hit by a rocket just as you're about to jump, so that's a bit unfortunate.
I've been pushed,
But as you can see, you get booped out instantly.
I barrage. I barrage.
Yes, yes.
So now the enemy uses barrage, which means you have to jump into that. Let's see. Yeah. If we rewind it, you heard it called that the enemy is setting up for a barrage.
I've been pushed, I was booped.
I get boop.
There's two things you can do when an enemy is setting up for a barrage. Firstly, you can jump towards it and place your bubble over it, which means that by the time the bubble actually drops, the Pharah is very likely to kill herself with splash damage. Or you simply primal rage right into her face, and then you will still have enough HP to kill her with the body block. In this case, use bubble, and now you see they're setting up.
Yes.
If you see them setting up, it's time to primal rage, but you need to jump into the Pharah to make her kill herself with splash damage. I wouldn't really go for Tracer here. Simple reason being is that Tracer is far too mobile to like catch with your primal rage. You can just dodge it. It would have been better to either go for the tanks or to guard the body, so far it could not be rezzed.
Of course, they didn't even use grab yet.
Yeah, saying you could have run Death Ball, that would have been a very valid option, because it's very hard to dive against that team comp. Let's wait until you pause again. Or what's it called? This one. So against their comp, like I said, it's very hard to dive anything. Diving the tanks is probably the best thing you can do. In that case, you just focus the tanks down, and if you really want to deal with Pharah Mercy, one of the things you could do is shoot the tanks, just damage them without really committing abilities to it. And then at some point, Mercy will have to drop to the tanks in order to heal them. When Mercy is healing the tanks, you can then jump to Pharah Mercy together with D.Va. That's a bit of an alternate strategy. It's more common against these type of comps to just swap some heroes, or to just outright fight the tanks. But those would really be your most logical options: attacking the tanks, like completely, or attacking the tanks without using your cooldowns, and then when the Mercy goes to heal the tanks, you can kill the Pharah.
Yeah.
Unlucky. So here we are going for a different comp. Yes. PK is going to swap the Doomfist, I remember. Okay, so you're running a very close quarter combat type of comp. Like Mei doesn't have amazing range, Doomfist has no range, Ryan and Zarya have no range. So you're just looking to fight on point.
The idea is to like walk in the point, like
Walk on point, then wall off whoever comes in.
yeah, that, and force them to come here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very viable.
Watch out with...
It's oftentimes the same with Goat's comp on this King of the Hill map.
I'm gonna boost once we reach the choke point.
No, don't boost, don't boost.
Why?
Don't boost.
No. They have a Reaper main, they have Reaper main.
So this wall is good, you can now set up on point. I see you're charging out here. I mean, you got the bubble. I spoke to Ground about it the other time, that was not really the ideal bubble. But in this case, you don't really want to commit onto them, because they can now just freeze you and shoot you with Reaper. And since your comp is very good at fighting on point, you want to keep it that way by staying there.
What the hell?
That was weird.
What the hell was that?
I'm going for a punch.
Okay, so now you're setting up a point, which is better. You get one kill, Mei use your shift.
Nice.
So this is looking pretty good. Now you're set up on point, you got your kills.
I'm punching him. Runner.
I kept the point.
Nice. Now it's time to get back at it, it's fine.
Very low on health.
Now this combat's vital that you guys all stay on point. Like, you cannot fight them in the open at all.
Okay,
We
never
know.
left the point now. The max distance is the choke.
They have McCree.
Sending this Fire Shark still fine.
Mercy.
Now they have McCree and Mei, okay.
They have a Pharah.
If I can give you one tip, oftentimes you're like trying to look through these windows, it seems. If you stand in the corner here,
I'm gonna
and then
do that.
shield, you can rotate your shield and rotate the camera with it as well, so you can see them coming. It's a small handy
They
little
have
trick.
the whole time with Pharah. If you don't get hit by her, they have Pharah.
Okay, so now they have a lot of range damage. They have McCree and they have Pharah. And this is a nice moment. I already went over this with Grande.
I think they saw you.
But you guys let them go in, you have a team bubble up,
Yeah,
Ryan gets walled, counter pinned, frozen, and killed. This is really good. This is what your comp is really good at.
Zarya next.
By now, as long as you turn around for the Pharah Mercy, you can maybe, like, at best you can maybe shield some damage, but I wouldn't really commit to walking towards them or sending a Fire Strike. Simple reason being is that you guys do not have any effective range to deal with Pharah Mercy. You have to fight the front line. Now you guys get a bit split off. Like, you're shielding the Pharah for now. which you could have maybe just done in general, but then I would stay closer to my team so she cannot get an angle, and so I'm still with my team. But now Armor's calling to kill Zarya. People extend like past the point.
Change the point. I cannot hear
Unlucky.
you there.
You could have maybe shielded up a bit sooner or something like that, but because you guys were a bit split now and you guys basically left the point, like 2 people are outside the point and 2 people died outside the point. Doomfist here and I think that's May here, yeah.
Back him.
My bad.
Which is a bit unfortunate. What I would have recommended is when you killed the Reinhardt to just kill the Zarya after that. And then you could have maybe gone back or shielded the Pharah, but I wouldn't really have committed any resources to the Pharah Mercy, because like I said, you don't have any effective range to deal with her as a team.
You might have.
They're incoming again.
So Grav, this is good, holding a shield up, trying to stay alive.
I'm
This is
passing
unfortunate
back
to get
point.
booped.
I got pooped out. And you're feeling so bad, thank you. If you can just drop your shield.
Fire behind us.
It's unlucky. Let's.
I thought I had my shield.
Yeah, it could have been just unlucky timing.
My camera went out of my character.
Yeah. Well, anyways, if you're walking back with low HP, you can always just jump and shield. And I think you know the mechanic, right? Are you familiar with that or no?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you could have maybe used that because it didn't really seem like you implemented it here. Because now it's looking pretty rough. The enemy fire will definitely have barrage by now. The things that are going to come up now are not really entirely your fault, I would say. I spoke to Groundabouts already, but the comp that you're running right now with Doomfist and May is horrendously bad for retaking, and I spoke to Ground about it. There were 3 people that could have swapped as soon as you guys... Oh, there were 3 people that could have swapped instantly to deal with Fire Mercy. And it's those 3 people. I already said to Granda, and this is not your individual mistake by any means, but it is something to keep in mind, that like the enemy Fire Mercy will have completely free reign, and probably a free barrage every fight or so.
They used Shatter.
Okay, so one thing for sure, you cannot take any splash damage, and you have to be very quick in moving towards point, because otherwise you get free shotted. So for now, I would just stay like around the walls where you're standing now, where Vera's standing, until you guys are all regrouped and ready to go. You cannot afford to take any damage, really. Now you're taking some damage, you're burning some shield. You're taking some damage, you're not going in.
I don't have enough heal.
Okay, eventually they barrage here, but if you just... So they would have probably won the fight regardless. But if you just look at how long this takes, right? So you're going in now. Take damage. Don't really go in.
I don't have enough heal.
Yeah. You do eventually get barrage, but you've taken about 400 normal HP. Like, you've taken this amount of damage, and you had around 1100 shield left. So you effectively took more than 1000 damage, kind of like trying to commit to a fight. I would have maybe just opted to stay hidden a bit longer until you were all there, or just like full on committed and move through quickly. Because like I said, with your comp, you cannot afford to take too much spam damage from Fire Mercy. You have to get on point quickly.
Mercy and Lucio left.
Lucio not yet.
Take some charges, fine for now.
Okay, we need to amp speed now.
I'm not yet.
So now you're all kind of waiting. This is okay. So this is good. Now you're amping speed free. You're walling them off. It's unlucky that 2 people get picked in the back. I saw this with Brown as well. I could not see where they were positioned, or whether it was just like a good shot or just unlucky pick. But the way you guys moved through here as a team was really good. You speed amp, you wall, you shield up, and most of you make it to point. Unlucky that 2 get picked off, but it looked pretty good.
Okay. Airdrop finally.
As you can see that never on soon.
You mentioned that you like wasted a fight, if you will. It's a bit unfortunate, but they used Barrage last fight and High Noon this fight, and their tanks didn't really do a lot of damage, so they might not have their ultimate rotation yet. Maybe Zarya's close again, but so it just happens. This case, I guess, was unfortunate communication between you guys. Because Granda went right side for the Graviton, and you guys went left side. Just general team communication, I would say. Not really anyone's individual mistake.
I didn't hear her go for the right though.
Ah, okay.
At the same second.
I don't think any of us did. I don't know if she did or not, but
Okay.
Where did you go? Because I got on
Just a general tip for you guys as a team, it's always handy to have someone call where you're going. It can be one of the supports, it can be one of the tanks, but like, it's very handy if someone says, let's all go left side now, or something like that. That always helps, just to prevent confusion like this. So now we're going Sanctum. You're playing Let's see, Hammond Diva, and you're playing Widowmaker, I remember, on this map?
With our theoretical
We're not playing weapon
strategy
power, can play
of
with
it.
them inside.
A part of it worked, I saw.
Appropriately dubbed guerrilla warfare,
Because
Nice.
we all got at the same time, that's not really dangerous.
focusing on hidden ambushes, hidden run
Yeah.
tactics.
Okay, so you've got, let's see, Doomfist as well, you've got Mercy, and I think you have Lucia, right?
In position,
Where's then?
down the left, moving in.
I mistook Farah Mercy for the entire team for a
What-
second.
what's it?
Unlucky. But one of the things I want to look over here with you quickly. How deep are you going?
Moving in.
Sorry, what?
Another hit.
How deep are you going in terms of distance?
Mid swing.
Yeah, but how deep do you end up?
How do
So
Uh,
basically, you slingshot from here
Yeah.
to about here.
that was not the strategy, because
Mhm.
I had to land there because I could see them.
I see.
So the other strategy is to land the mirror,
Mhm.
because people tend to drop.
So you, where do you normally land? Like on the high ground or on point or
No. Sure.
On mini,
Other-
on mini.
on the mini health pack? Like
Yeah.
Around the mini. Because
around
that's-
there
Yes.
mini?
That area, because
Yeah,
that's
okay.
where most teams set up and poke.
True.
So
With Orisa, yeah.
well, the theory is that we jump in, me and K jump in,
Mhm.
knock
Yeah.
them up, so some PK can have free reign because
free
they
shot,
won't be
yeah.
they won't be
Yeah.
expecting to be knocked up when they have a Orisa shield. And then PK's abilities can maybe get lucky and knock one of them off.
Yeah.
And with our combined like jump in with enough damage to
Mhm.
what you guessed.
It's
What
an
was it?
interesting strategy, and good that you guys like make your own strategies and whatnot. It is there are like a few pitfalls, and I saw this when I was watching Grana's perspective. She was trying to dive with you, whereas the distance that you're covering, seeing as Granda used her shift around like the start and probably has it back when she's around here, she has to walk a bit and then commit her shift. She's like using 1.5 booster cooldown, or like 2 maybe, to even get to you. So when you're just like normally committing to a fight, you need to realize that it's very hard for a team to follow up on it, especially for Diva, because you're going very deep in their enemy lines, and maybe you can handle yourself, but then you need to be very clear that you don't want support from Diva. Because one of the things that happened when I saw it from Grant's perspective is that she was trying to commit to helping you,
Down the left,
and then it
moving in.
kind of went unlucky.
Still a
farm.
work in progress.
But I don't
Still a work in progress.
Yeah, definitely.
on the right.
So you lose Mercy, unfortunate.
Come back.
They have Orisa Hog.
We will not make it.
Yeah, unlucky. That's not too bad. Or nothing too big. Just reset time. I won't really take too much poke here because you just want to reset. And I would leave my healers to heal me up there rather than taking the health pack.
Yes, she's on left.
Okay, you get a pick, nice.
Right side.
Go left the body. She cannot rest.
Then there.
She's low. Mercy's low.
This is good. This is the thing you mean, booping the Mercy and then letting Tillet get the body shot off.
Yeah, that was just at the moment strategy.
Yeah,
Shit, mate.
you can make it back up.
I can make it.
Yep, I
out.
can.
Bring the shield or something.
Okay,
Fire zombie.
Okay.
How?
Some small tips there, like the way you roll out back up is pretty good, I would say. But
I can make it out.
here, like shooting the Roadhog's fine. But as soon as you see the Fire Mercy ult, it's time to instantly, like, you see your Divas
Yeah,
nearby.
I know this thing, but all the 3 of us are dead in kill feed, so
Yeah.
Okay,
I thought quick reset.
Okay, but either way, like, whether you were ball form or normal form, you could have shot the Fire Mercy, or a Fire in this case, so you would have either gotten a kill or just some free ult charge. Either one is pretty worth it. Especially because your Diva was matrixing it, so...
She just drops on me. I have no idea. Like, I need to pay attention to her.
So against our comp now, I know this round's eventually going to work out for you, but you have to be very careful about who you attack, because you're playing against a Fire Mercy and Orisa Roadhog, neither one of which you can really do a great deal against as Hammond. So you have to be careful who to go for. Tilma gets a nice pick.
No.
This is pretty good. Getting a lot of damage in with Power Driver. Not getting blown away. So you lose your Diva mech.
Yeah, she did.
This is good, looking good.
Area denied.
And I swore to God that after I pulled Pile Driver, I used my ult, but apparently it didn't register for some reason.
I guess so. And unluckily enough, your ult gets cancelled here. because it's a bit it's a bit like nano boost.
I know it. I've been training enough having to figure it out.
Yeah,
This ridiculous.
your ult can get cancelled sadly enough.
Then again, I thought I had already.
You had it when you power drove, yeah. I think it might be having to finish the animation of power drive before you can initiate your ultimate ability.
Yeah, because we don't have one. Like, at all. Shit, I'm very on our IC.
10%. What is for the bottom left again? Let me check.
Okay.
What about bottom left? Yeah.
I'm going on
Burn
point.
someone?
I'm on point.
Power driving is good.
Which one?
Fighting the rest is probably your best call here. You don't want to go for Roadhog and you don't want to go for anything else rude either.
There's fire this time.
You can maybe attempt to go for the Widowmaker a bit more, but it depends on how well she's set up.
Fires one.
On the
I
left
don't see.
side.
So you got a kill with, you get 2 kills with Till now on Widowmaker, you get 1 pick with the Fire Ultimate.
Where's the one?
I just brought a complaint. Good ultimate here.
Left here, man.
I can only do so much. I'm reloading. I'm staying on point.
At least you're getting 2
So,
mines.
hold one.
Because now you finally do get the kills to secure the fight here,
Hold on,
which is
breathe
pretty
it,
good.
hold on, breathe it.
The way you were fighting it here is pretty good. Like, fighting the Iris is probably your best bet here.
I need some healing before anything.
This is good. This time you're like healing up before you go in. That's very good.
And
I just wanted to quick come back.
I'm just gonna hide from the left side because
Did they use Barrage?
Sneaky.
That is part of the strategy. Once we win a fight,
Yeah.
our strategy to hold it is to hide either on the left or right side, then jump on them.
Yeah.
No,
Because no one checks there,
Yeah.
on the right.
and he doesn't see me.
No. This is good. You're getting a lot of damage and you get 1
And
kill.
there,
There's the strategy.
Rodog discard.
But on top of that, you get a shit ton of ult charge. Like you get 20% from 1 power drive.
I'm hit.
We do the left side, the mega.
In this case, I would focus on Mercy when she's resing.
She's one.
But you're still getting a lot of damage and this is pretty good.
I can't make it. I'm dead.
Oh, okay. It's part of the risk of the comp you're running against them. Like, their crowd control will at some point hit you and there's no way you can really mitigate it.
Keeping the Widow has silence.
Their Widowmaker's dead, so your Widowmaker should have the advantage. You get to kill Marissa, that's good.
that's what I said.
Yeah, I heard it. You get a crucial pick on Marissa as it seems, because then they don't have shielding.
We do left side.
Keep them there. Kill him. Go for.
It's alright, going in and trying to clean up the fight.
Mercy.
But now it's time to get back out again, that's good, yeah.
I'm gonna hide on the opposite side.
I Barrage.
Tell me where they come. I have mine field.
I checks there. You.
In fair, I was going to check for you here.
Get out of here. I survived.
No, I wanted to check for you if they're coming.
I have third person's perspective. I can see. Oh,
I don't know how they didn't see me.
Yeah.
Inside.
This is a bit risky though, like, it does end up working out, but seeing as your entire team is on the ground, there's no way they can follow you up here. And you do eventually get the good boop on Mercy and Roadhog, so it does allow for Diva to follow up. But going in there by yourself against 6 people is incredibly risky. And it's a bit fortunate you do eventually get people to the low ground there, but if they all stayed on like the higher ground there, you would have probably been dead.
I think they would as well because mines.
I mean, to some extent, but they can also just still walk around or walk, what's it called, circumnavigate it when the animation's still up. Or Rhoda can just take a breather through them and Arista can shoot a bunch of them. Like, there's ways to circumnavigate it, especially because they have Far Mercy and whatnot. But going in like by yourself there against basically the entire enemy team without your team really being able to follow up is very risky, regardless
Well,
of thingy.
Well, it paid off.
I mean, it happened to pay off, but it was only because 2 people dropped to the
No,
low
I-
ground and Dave was there to follow you.
No, the keyword being happy.
You don't need to check.
Sorry?
Keyword being happy, as in could have gone really bad and you shouldn't, but this time you were lucky.
Yeah, but it's not about doing good in this game. It's about having like good general strategy and good general decision making that's applicable in more situations than just one where it worked.
It's entering game.
So we're going for Lee Jung. We're starting with Control Center. And here we're going to run goats. It's forward. Some bit again.
It's on not gardens, but the third stage. How does it called? I don't know.
So you're playing goats with Anna, or are you playing with Moira? I think you're playing with Anna, yeah.
Yeah.
let's go directly to point. We don't. Why should we ever go in this little room?
Yeah,
There's
okay.
no reason for taking this damage and feeding ult.
You're saying exactly what he said earlier. You have thoughts of
I
your
was
own.
smoking. In between the games, I always go smoking.
Income.
Right. So now you look at their team comp. You see Moira, you see Junkrat, and you see Mei. So seeing as you're playing goats with Ana, what would your prime objective here be against their comp?
Check.
Sorry?
Until she landed.
You're cutting out a lot again, dude.
Remember this thing. May have the Ana get a nade, then go in, break off the bleeding.
Alright. So, let's see. You don't really press tab a whole lot here. I'm just gonna draw this out. So we have goats with Ana. That's you guys. The enemy team's running Reinhardt, Zarya, Moira. I think that Lucio I saw. And they have Mei and Junkrat, okay? So they have several advantages over you. Firstly, they can wall people off, but they have more range damage because they have Mei and Junkrat, so they can shoot from range, whereas your comp is really close quarter brawl. So one of the things you want to do against their team is close the distance between the two of you as much as you can, because you can't really get to Mei or Junkrat very effectively. You can't really get to Moira and Lucio very effectively with your comp. So you have to fight their front line, their Reinhardt Zarya. And because you have like Goat's comp, you have a lot of resources in your front line. So just based on like resource management and what's it called? Distribution, you should be able to win a front fight battle, but you have to watch out for their range damage and their walls predominantly. And seeing as you're playing with Ana, there's a couple things that you want to do. Like I said, firstly, you want to close the distance with them as soon as you can without taking too much damage, because otherwise Mei and Junkrat can get their relevance in before you can actually get to your strong suit, which is the close quarter combat. But on top of that, you want to get good anti-nades off, and for that you need to bait the enemy Zarya bubbles. So one of the things I would do is initially go like really aggro on the Reinhardt, like for just one swing and a fire striker maybe. And then as soon as Zarya uses her bubble, just get back a bit and then let them come to you so the Ana can get an opening for a grenade off on the Reinhardt. Because if you win the Reinhardt feud Reinhardt battle here, you basically win the fight instantly. In this case, you guys decide to go point. Going either the staircase or straight to point is fine. But as soon as you see the Junker there, you have to close the distance. Because I can get that you're hesitant to fight them here. But seeing as you have like way more resources in your front line, you have to push it aggressively because you don't have ranged DPS to follow up on like damage or get a kill. It's really the front line, Reinhardt and Zarya, that have to get a lot of kills in this comp. So you have to be aggressive, especially because you have more resources in the front line than they do.
I'm fucking dead.
Okay, get saved here. Your Barrow's entirely bust.
Get this Ryan,
So now Ryan's anti-hit.
He's healed, he's healed.
So let's rewind this, like he lose one, but let's just rewind your thingies here for a minute.
Games, I always go smoking.
Income.
So you lose.
Absolutely.
So before you really go into them in range, you've lost half your barrier.
I come to wall of one of us, they have Mei. My shield's down, my shield's down.
Then you get hardcore focused by Junkrat and things probably, and by being frozen. But charging away from a teammate there is very risky, because it leaves them completely open to Junkrat and Mei.
I wasn't trying to charge away, I was actually trying to catch the Ryan.
I see.
It's absolutely. I come to wall of one of us, they have Mei. My shield's down, my
Yeah.
shield's down.
I'm not that you like kind of miss aiming, but you kite away to the right side mid charge here. But either way, because because you're playing against Mei, you have to play very close to your team for two specific reasons really. If you guys are playing a bit split, it's very easy for Mei to wall someone off and isolate them. And on top of that, if you're not in the fight to block like the Mei's primary fire, her freeze, you can freeze multiple people at once. And since you guys are playing clumped up with goats, a lot of people will be frozen. You do eventually get saved here for a bit.
Get this Ryan, Ryan.
So you lose your main support. This is looking very grim. So I don't know if you know this mechanic, but let's rewind the way you swing here.
He's healed, he's healed.
So are you familiar with what's it called? Rotating your camera mid swing or not?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I don't. I don't know how to do
Okay.
it effectively because I don't know how to do it. Either my camera gets
see.
stuck or I end up into.
So this is just like a rough drawing, right? It's not super accurate, but let's say this is the hitbox of Reinhardt's hammer, right? And this little stripe here is kind of like the heights of the hitbox. Usually in the center of your screen. So if you rotate your camera mid swing, you can kind of
That string. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's technique I know.
yeah, but you don't really implement it. You could have maybe hit someone by using that mechanic. It comes with a bit of practice to perfect it, but basically, if you rotate your camera when you're swinging, you extend the hitbox. If you will effectively you change the epicenter to a more favorable position. And if you do that while like walking forward and then backwards when you're at the epicenter of your swing, like at the heights, what you can do is hit the enemy Reinhardt when you're like just a tiny step forward and at the max range of your hammer. And then when you step back, his hammer will not hit you because he's not in the effective range. It's something you could have maybe implemented here. Unluckily you died, but you already lost your main hero, so it was looking pretty rough regardless. This is fine, just regrouping, sending a fire strike.
Oh, it's me on Zarya and Tilnet on Diva.
Yeah.
Or Beast if he's getting
I reviewed your
blown
Zarya on this yesterday, remember?
Yeah.
Okay, so now there's two of you, Walt. You know the maze there. You guys kind of did sort of do the right thing, like you all waited for your abilities to be online before you went in. But you know they have a maze, so you want to do one thing predominantly, which is bait out the wall. You can try to do it by just walking forward and backward. Ideal target for this would be D.Va, who can just walk in, wait for the wall, and then fly out. You do eventually get walled, which means it's unlucky that PK also gets walled, but if we add static image... Let's hope they have a good map for this. Okay, so let's say this is your spawn, right? I think it's the opposite side, but it works fine. Mei is standing... I'll do the purple cross, or pink cross for Mei. Mei is standing right here. And she walls you off, unluckily. Let's say you're blue cross again. Whenever you're playing against Mei, you have to really keep in mind what part of the map you want to enter the fight in. Because you know that when you get walled, you need to have an escape route. And in this case, that escape route will be charging this direction here. You'll see later there's a Junkrat position there, but either way, since you're up close here, there's no real way that you can survive against Mei very effectively. So you have to really, when you're playing against Mei, if you're walled off, or you're like going towards a path where you can get walled off, you need to always have a backup plan in mind for, hey, where do I escape to in case I get walled? In this case, you kind of walk backwards. You do eventually get stunned by the Junkrat behind. I can give you one little extra tip against Mei here.
He's getting low on health.
I'll watch your shield management. So you just kind of walk backwards normally. One thing against Mei is that her primary fire, when she's really up close, can protrude your barrier in the way that you can keep your shield, but she might still freeze you if like you're too close to her. So what you need to do if you're playing against Mei, you need to walk backwards, drop your shield, jump, and flick your shield up midair and tilt it downwards. If that makes sense.
I know that technique.
I see. That can really like you can do that 2 times, and the third time you're already slowed enough to the point where you need to stand still and wait for the freeze to unfall. But in this case, you don't really implement the mechanic. So that's what I would recommend you do against Mei. Drop your shield, jump backwards, put your shield up, tilt downwards. Do that 2 times, and then third time you need to stand still and rotate your barrier again. You can maybe jump once while standing still, but in this case, it's also unlucky the Junkrat's alone there. But in this case, as soon as I saw the wall go up, I would have tried to get the hell out of dodge, because Mei's, if she doesn't have the freeze range, she cannot really get to you effectively. So
They'll just freeze me. Okay, on the right side, Up here. Come on.
okay, so you're going for an alternate angle. This is good. And you're all together as a team.
Mine's here.
Okay, so she used the wall and she kind of fucked it up. So this might sound a bit vague, but there's heroes like Doomfist, Brigitte, and Mei. I oftentimes describe this as rhythmic heroes. It's because they depend on a certain like pattern of ability rotation that makes them very strong. And once a certain ability has been used, it's really like a Q sign that you can go into somewhere. With Mei, as soon as your wall is down, you know she doesn't have it for about 5 seconds, which is your go time to go in as a team because you can't get split off anymore. With Brigitte, it's oftentimes Brigitte has no stun, let's go, or she has no armor pack, you can attack a certain target now. The same kind of goes for Doomfist. If he doesn't have a rocket punch, people can play differently because you don't get stunned as often. So when you're playing against these type of heroes, which have very commonly used ability rotation and very much like absolute abilities, it's very crucial that you keep track of those abilities and that you exploit the moments when the abilities are not up. So in this case, the Mei wall's down, which means you cannot get split anymore. You could have just instantly gone in aggressively on them and straight to their team, so they could not separate you any further. In this case, you kind of give them some time to build the Mei wall again.
I'm on the Rhine.
I'm sorry.
You get booped here, you lost 2, unlucky, and you get grabbed. So in this case, you don't get punished for it, but as soon as the Mei wall was used, I would have just waited out and rushed their team instantly. Because you know that by the time you would get to them, they wouldn't have the Mei wall still.
They have Moira, Lucio, Reinhardt.
Tim gets off the map, unlucky.
I don't know. I think we should smoke the far.
Fara wouldn't do anything here. It's too close space.
So once again, general team thing.
We're gonna get walled again. Fred.
Okay, this is kind of unfortunate. I've seen from Graham's perspective already. You guys are going to go in here without enough resources, but on top of that, I've not seen Diva try to bait a single Mei wall yet. Something you can keep in mind as a team, but on top of that now, I saw Zarya use at least one bubble. Your shield is getting kind of low. So I would have considered not poking around, but just let you wait for all your abilities to come on cooldown before going in.
Yeah.
In this case, you do bait the wall kind of, but someone is in. And that would be Graham unlucky.
Sorry, I hope you.
90%.
The juke itself was good, but unlucky that not everyone followed it. It's a good pin on the Mei. Okay, you're 95. When they're engaging hardcore like that, it's perfectly viable to shatter this instantly. Unlucky that you get booped, but it's a bit unfortunate because you were very low HP, but it is worth to just shatter in like the last 5 seconds. You do get the touch here, which is fine. And now just clutch in desperation mode.
Spawn the shadow. You can get it, guy. He's one. He's healed. We got it. I'm coming,
As you
I'm
got the
coming.
touch. It's kind of unlucky, but you just missed this one in aiming, sadly.
Can't believe.
I was anticipating her to keep the whole.
Yeah. I mean, either way, like, if you're that close to her,
We got
you can
it.
just put it on her dead center. You just put it on her dead center, and wherever she walks, it's still gonna hit her, if you look at the animation. If you aimed it here, and she walks to about, like, say here or here, it would have still hit her regardless. So you could have just aimed it dead center rather than trying to predict her movement, because it would have hit either way.
Jack one, okay.
Run.
You get the pin on Zarya, that's good.
Kill them, Armor. Kill them.
Yeah, and then I killed Rain,
We're frozen the Mace here.
I'm
Mace here.
lost.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, against their combat Verarts a retake with goats, but one of the things you need to definitely do here, kind of as a team as well, is juke the Mei walls better and exploit when the wall's not up. But on top of that, in the first fight, you guys really had to close a distance before they could get their relevant damage in, if you will. So here we're playing Gardens. Yes. So we're playing with Pharah, Tracer, Diva, Mercy, and I think Zenyatta or Lucio again, right? Yeah, Zenyatta. Alright. Okay, so they have full life. Tracer, Lucio, Mercy, Genji, Winston, Diva.
Fire on point. Great bubble.
Bubble, bubble, bubble.
Okay, I'm ready to jump to support. 3, 2, 1.
What you do now is kind of okay. It's unlucky a bit that you lose one early.
Mercy.
She does it.
But seeing as, were you there the last time I reviewed Dive in general on Gibraltar or not? Beastmaster?
Yes, I said yes.
Okay, I can hear it. So, with the dive comp that they have more general mobility and they are quicker to get value. So it's very hard to dive them aggressively because that's their strong suit. What I would wait to do with a Pharah dive is wait for a Pharah to hit a direct rocket on one of the squishies or to wear down a tank. Because you do have more damage on tanks than they do. You have a Pharah instead of Genji, so you can get more damage in... Oh yeah, and you have Zen, so... You basically have more damage on their tanks than they can do. And on top of that, they have more general mobility. So in this case, it's very much advisable that you wait for Pharah to hit like a rocket that is crucial on like a squishy target. So like, let's say the Mercy's 100 HP, you can dive that for instance. But
What if she doesn't? Tie again.
I mean, if your DPS never hit a shot, you're going to lose. That's a simple reality, to be honest.
Not a direct hit, but
It's not about directing, but let's say you hit like 2 splash rockets on the Mercy, right? She's used her flank, she's 100 HP. Perfect dive target. But, like I said, because you're driving them very aggressively, I think your Pharah was not really in position yet. Whereas their team was already set up completely. So, and because they have Lucia, right? But they don't have Zen. So you have one very clear advantage over them, which is fighting tanks. Just because you have Discord Orb, if a Pharah shoots down on a Winston or a Deva, and they cannot block the damage, it's a lot of damage. And if you and Deva just stay there and fight the tanks, you can win it quite convincingly. And if you're really going for the squishies, you have to really wait for Pharah to hit the initial damage. Because Pharah cannot get to their backline as quickly as you guys can in this case. So you need to wait for damage to hit and then clean it up.
I couldn't see Mercy because of
She ran on
his
the
team.
left.
So use Pulse Palm, that's fine.
Okay, I'm ready.
I also have bomb.
Yeah, I am for bro. Monkey number bro.
Unless you're on the right. If you can, okay, if you can like force her to fly, we can kill her there.
So in this case, they're giving you all the positioning, basically, because they're holding on point. You could have just taken the gardens, the middle section by the pillar now. You just walk there, basically.
Good to see you as well. Okay, where's the Mercy? I don't see it.
Yeah, Mercy in the middle.
Yeah, well, try to play it.
Mercy?
Is that me?
We can't see you, we can't help you, we can't
Yeah.
help you.
Okay, in this case, let's review or rewind this quickly. Sorry.
Should we jump to point?
So you're a bit hesitant now. You don't really know who to dive. In this case, I can tell you it's probably best to play with your Pharah. So wait until she hits a rocket, or to counter dive for your supports when their Genji, for instance, dashes in. In this case, you see Mercy, but you're kind of far away,
Is that me?
and you try to commit to it now, but you're now at the edge of your bubble,
We can't
and
see
now
you,
you
we
start
can't
taking
help you, we
damage.
can't help
I actually hit the.
You hit the ceiling when you jumped, yeah. But playing outside of your bubble here is very risky because they're all set up on point.
Okay.
Alright.
Hey bro.
So against our team comp, like I said, it's best to focus the tanks or a squishy that is being hit by Pharah. One of the things you can always focus on as well is focusing the enemy Genji and especially try to bait him into dashing in towards your team, because then you can just discord him and zap him for free. The Genji isn't very, like, he isn't really biting any bait yet, so it might be hard, but it's always worth to try to force his dash. Okay, till it kind of staggers,
I don't
unfortunate.
even know how the fuck I done
Get out, get out. Cover, cover, cover.
What?
Okay, so you know by now they definitely have a Dragon Blade up soon again.
Fuck you.
You shouldn't have done that.
Unlucky bomb. I went over this bomb with ground as well, just so you know.
Fuck you.
So you get a kill. Okay, now the Mercy Falcons. It's time to just focus a different target. You go for Diva, that's fine.
I'm on point, I'm going on point.
Now you see Genji. This is good. Now you're focusing Genji. This is really good. And as you can see, you do eventually get the final kill. Or the final blow.
Does it ban?
I got you. I got him.
A good kill on Tracer.
Mercy,
What's
Mercy,
that? What's that?
Mercy,
What's that?
Mercy, Mercy.
Mercy, 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 mercy.
I don't see, I don't see you.
She's one.
Kill mercy, kill mercy.
She's on point.
This prime rage is okay. You were getting kind of low and your ammo was kind of running low, so I understand that you want to rage there.
I got it.
This is
I got
good.
it.
Focusing the Mercy.
I'm gonna lose you, I'm gonna lose you.
No healers. You have no healers.
And they have that.
A lot of ults in rotation. Okay, it's a bit unlucky that you're losing this fight, but I did like the way you approach it now. I just rewinded and see what you did well, because you did take this fight quite well, I must say.
Mercy.
She is at the
Pillar. On point.
Okay, so here Mercy's at the pillar, so you dive in soon.
commercial thingy.
Oh wait, we're
I don't.
still waiting for the Diva Bomb.
Mercy, it seems.
Lose it, this guy.
So
They're all going back.
you're just waiting for your ability to get on cooldown again.
Shouldn't have done that.
But the way you take this fight is pretty good, Beastmaster. Like, you heard the call of Mercy's by the pillar, so you dive in, go for Mercy. She Valks. You kind of stay on her for a second, but then you instantly swap to a different target because you cannot kill this. What was it, Grande? Or was it the video that said something?
Sorry?
Oh, it was the video that said something. I heard voice, I thought you said something, but it's the video.
No, it wasn't a video. I'm muted.
Okay. Okay, so you realize that the Mercy is not really killable, so you go for the Diva. You're quickly looking for another target, you see Genji. Probably your best target right now, you go for Genji.
No, Mercy.
Clean him up. Go for Diva to protect your Pharah a bit.
I got
See
you.
Tracer. Dive that's pretty good. So all in all, you're taking this fight very well. Like, you went for the Mercy initially, then swapped targets
I don't see
in a good way twice. You went for the Genji, killed him, and then went for the Tracer, killed him.
Kill mercy, kill mercy.
And like I said, this ult is good, and then you just go for Mercy because everyone's calling to focus her.
Is she flying? Is she... I got it, I got it. I'm gonna lose you, I'm gonna lose
No
you.
healers. You have no healers.
It's unfortunate you eventually end up losing this fight. You kind of trade unfavorably, and they had a lot of ult in rotation. But the way you took this last fight was really good, because in the earlier fights here, you oftentimes were the first to die and didn't really get a kill. Whereas in this one, you forced out the enemy Mercy's Valkyrie, eventually killed her, and helped killing the Tracer and the Genji. So this last fight you took was really good.
Kill Tracer.
If you take every fight like that, you'll win a lot of games, I can tell you that.
Too deep armor and the Pharaoh.
So you're playing with, let's see, Widowmaker, Pharah, Reinhardt, Diva, and then I think you're running Moira, Lucio.
Down the left, they're going straight to point.
Okay, so they went straight to point. You see Diva and you see Reinhardt. Mostly that means they're running Goats comp. If they're running straight to point, yeah, it's Goats. Against Goats, there's two things you need to keep in mind. Firstly, you can build your Earth Shatter incredibly quickly if the enemy doesn't have their Diva Matrix up. So you have to kind of time your fire strikes to the moment when the Diva's Matrix is not up. Because let's say like you had the initial fight, right? Or like the initial view against each other. Because Fire Strike with damage boost does 10% to your ultimate charge, and otherwise it does 7. So let's say you hit like, you see they go around here, okay, unlucky. So if say you would have had it here, you would have had probably 25 to 30% ult charge. They would have sent the next one around this moment. If you would have hit it, would have been around 50 to 60% ult charge in total. Would have had one swing, around 70. And if you send another Fire Strike, you would basically have your Earth Shatter. So that's one of the things you need to keep in mind against Goats. If you send long range Fire Strikes, you can get your Earth Shatter incredibly quickly with damage boost. But moreover, it's kind of the same story as on Control Center. They have way more resources in their front line than you have, so their Ryan can play much more aggressively than you can in this case. So you need to really keep your distance from them, because as soon as you get close quarters with them, they can stun you, they can heal their Reinhardt more, they can bubble him, and they can Matrix him, all that, whereas you only have a bit of Matrix and a bit of healing. So you need to be very careful with how you play here. You get healed a bit late here by Vera. She could have maybe healed you earlier. But initially, you were playing it quite aggressively, and you couldn't really land your long-range damage before. I don't know if you called for it here, but if you're getting low, and you're getting into territory where like 1 or 2 swings will take you out, you can always ask for healing.
I think I did.
I see.
Lucio with the Reaper then. I don't know. No, because that is slow.
Going with Hanzo. Okay, so now you're going with double spam. You've got Mercy Zen, Hanzo Farmer. So you've got a lot of range damage and damage amplification, which basically still means the same thing. You have to keep your distance from them.
Whoa, what the fuck? You actually could hear this shit?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh wait, is that...
Let's move.
Okay, let's
So you get one kill, nice. So what you're doing here is fine. You get the very good pin. It's really unlucky that you missed this swing. If you would have rotated your hammer, you would have gotten it. I went over this with Ground as well, and your guys' team focus was just off. I think your call for going for Rhino was good, just unlucky the team didn't follow it as accurately. But your pin on the Reinhardt was good, and the way you just like got the damage on, it was good. Just unlucky team focus, I would say, not your mistake. Because the enemy team didn't have a Moira anymore, so they lacked all the healing to keep their tanks up. So getting in aggressive there when you have the crucial pick on Moira was good. Just unlucky that your team didn't really focus the same target together.
It's okay, I have...
It's a trap, it's a
Doing
trap.
a bait.
No.
Okay, so now you have your Shatter.
Okay, we'll go in when you go on top. Okay, ready?
So when you're going to use your Shatter, you need to mostly be mindful of Brigitte stuns and Zarya bubbles. You do a lot of decent Earth Shatter here. This is a bit unlucky. Whenever you see an enemy Rhine charging, it's crucial that you at the very least counterpin, and the timing for counterpinning is very liberal. You could have literally still pressed charge here and you would have equalized it. Instead you get pinned, so you need to be very mindful in close quarters of the enemy Reinhardt if he has his charge up, because you need to at the very least counter charge it.
That was perfect.
And now I'm going to swap to a Doomfist comp, I remember.
I think we have to go.
Yeah, I can touch.
And do.
Okay, I can't touch.
That's shit.
This is a very good pin on Brig and nice Discord, so you get a crucial pick.
But not long.
Don't worry about
And this is a good call that you're making. You know that you're kind of desperation mode, lost territory, so this is good. Just telling them to not put any resource into you. 2 up, it's looking good. 1 up. Okay, 2 up again. So you should win this fight, yeah.
Oh, get away from me!
That won't pull. That won't pull.
Okay, so the enemy team is still running Goats comp.
And this combat.
What you have to do is deny them access to the point in one way or another. You can either hold the choke very closer, like this, or you can continue to hold on point and just hold them on the little thing where you actually end up pulling them eventually. Now let me see if the map shows it. Yeah, so you're either going to hold them here and deny them access, or you're going to hold them around here on the side of the point and just deny them access. But either way, you have to really make sure they can't really get set up in their strong zone, because you do still have range damage in Doomfist. So as long as you can keep them in a situation where they're not very strong, so you want to keep them off the point, you're good.
They're gonna come in. I'm going back. I'm coming back.
So now, I understand you want to be careful, but now you're basically giving them a free pass to the point, like their strong suit. You have to kind of, as a team, you have to kind of put up a fight, like, really at this position here, and make sure that they cannot move through easily. In this case, they just kind of move through uncontested. They do eventually go to contest him here, but your team is in no position to contest this quickly here, because Dooms was up top. He's not going to reach it, Hans is not going to reach it. So now you're in a position where you're a bit isolated from your team, and on top of that, you're in a position where you're very close to Goats, which is once again very risky.
Give us one.
I know this moment, Reinhardt's a buggy character, by the way.
Yeah.
Hello.
It's a bit unfortunate, but what you could have done better there in general is either commit to fully holding the choke or to holding like the side of the point you actually end up holding as a team. Because now you've basically given the Goats comp free access towards point without ever really contesting them prior. And once they're set up on point, they're deadly. And then once you guys gave them access to point, you were not all able to follow you as effectively. So you were very close and isolated from the Goats comp, which is just very risky.
I anticipated someone would go in and get an early pin.
Yeah, true. It can work, but it's incredibly risky. Like, you're either going to hit the pin and maybe get a kill, or you're literally just going to instantly die to the Goats comp. I mean, like, is it a trade you want to make? Probably not really.
We skip this. If you never played them, then we skip it.
So what is your answer?
Armor?
You're talking to.
Did you ever play Bastion?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Okay, so you're playing with Bastion, Roadhog, I think that's Hanzo Widowmaker,
Yeah.
and then you have Silly Heal Mercy.
If
Okay.
the Hawk is not working with the Orisa set up, we switch after that to dive.
And if that doesn't work, we'll swap to dive, okay?
Yeah.
Come back. If they have Hanzo, they know that we have a Bastion.
Pick up jump.
They will
Speaking, can you Sonic this wall?
they have
on-
Junkrat already, yeah? Then they go counter Bastion. Very good. They might have Tracer also. Oh, we do.
Okay, so you see Junkrat, you see Orisa.
I don't see him.
You need to set up on point quickly here. This is good.
There's a trap here.
No, can't.
Slamming shields for now is fine.
Oh shit! I got moved up.
Okay, I need to take some time now to stabilize again. You don't really have any abilities. This is pretty okay, you're spamming shields. This pull is good.
Shield dead.
Okay, so they have Diva as well, it seems, yeah? They have Diva, Zen, Junkrat, Widowmaker. So your pull was really good, because the most effective targets to pull... Fuck. My internet disconnected. So my internet comes back shortly. Okay, still not working yet. Let's hope it comes back shortly. Okay, so my phone's got internet again. Should be online shortly. It's connecting.
So far. Okay, Argyll.
Hello.
Hello. What
Okay,
happened?
my internet cut out.
Okay. I paused the vote.
Okay. Now I need to get control back, but it won't let me. Unlucky.
It's not letting you.
Yeah. I'll quickly end the session, and then I'll redo it.
Okay, 34 minutes by the way,
Cool.
35.
Thank you. Could you two do me a favor and leave the session real quick? Because I cannot get control back if you guys are still in it.
Wait, what should I do? Oh,
Leave the page real quick and then rejoin when I say I'm ready.
Okay.
Because I cannot get control
I'm
back right
leaving.
now.
I closed it.
Let's see. Let's try again. Okay, so now I have control again. Good. Okay, you guys can join again.
Yeah,
Sorry for your
I joined.
inconvenience. 34 minutes, right?
Yeah, 35.
Okay. So deployed. What was the last thing I said in voice? Because I must have cut out at some point.
Camera 5.
Did I say it was a good pull to go for Junkrat and Zen because they're the most reliable pull targets?
No.
Okay. Good pull on Junkrat and Zen because in their team comp, those are your most reliable pull targets. It's unlucky that you get taken down here.
Top right.
Pulling Mercy's good here.
Left side, D.Va behind us on the bridge.
Oh, is contesting the point? Okay.
She's fine.
Where are you? I'm here.
D.Va's out of mech. I'm going to left. Okay, are you ready? No, wait, you can't.
No.
So as soon as we get off the payload with that thing, we switch best. He never will set up again. He dies.
Because it's looking pretty good. Just if they decide to engage, you can pull them out. But they don't. That's good.
Down top,
Okay. Very well condone what you do here, but I think it's a good thing because, as you said, he doesn't need a shield when they're not engaging yet.
The Bastion needs a shield.
Trying to get the initial pull is good. It's not good that the shield curved up there.
Shield carve is just.
That he gets a shield.
Yeah. Vera does criticize it. I think it was a good thing that you did because there was no way they were going to engage onto you there, and you could have possibly gotten a free pick. So what you did was fine. No worries.
Cyan coming.
Tara gets in, unlucky.
Okay, shield now.
And there's no way you can shield that for us, unlucky. That's not your mistake.
On the payload.
I'm gonna switch it.
Oh, you can use your ult for fun, but I don't think it matters.
Oh shit, they're like, oh, okay.
So you're going to end up playing Winston here.
Supposed to dive, she said.
I've got him. Can we?
Would you make on the high ground on the left side?
Let's go to the left, go to the left, go to the left.
Okay.
Okay, so you're deciding to go for the left side, and we're kind of in the same spot as we were earlier. You're kind of sitting around a bit without really hardcore engaging much, which leads to you and your team burning resources.
Let's go up here, this time.
You're in a bit of a risky spot because you jumped in and used your bubble where you're fighting the front line here, which is not really ideal. But with the combat you're running, it's going to be pretty tough to dive aggressively because you're running with double snipers, so you have to play quite defensively and peel for them where needed.
Huge.
I stayed there.
Because your snipers should have an advantage over them because they have Junkrat Widowmaker, whereas you have two snipers. So oftentimes if your Hanzo Sonic's arrow close to the enemy Widowmaker, your Widowmaker can have a free wall hack every now and then. and Hanzo can just put a lot more pressure on their Widowmaker than their jungler can on yours. So you should be able to win sniper duels and just maybe clean up a body shot or just keep some general pressure, but you don't need to go too aggressively here. Getting the kill on Zen here is good together with Grande. The 1 HP health pack, you get booped.
First a half. Nice.
Mates is going for me. Mates is going for me. Healing garage first. Mercy one. Top.
Mercy one.
She missing someone.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Focusing Mercy is fine. What you could have done there, it's very vital that you continue doing this against Mercies.
Someone.
Yeah,
So she has a shift, and you're in range to attack her. There's no need to jump onto her unless she jumps out. You could have just waited for her to fly away from you, because you were already attacking her and damaging her, and then you could chase her. But in this case, you kind of gave her the upper hand, because you used her jump before she used her fly, which means you can just fly away very easily.
I'm soon with you, Beast.
Getting RCR is fine. Going for D.Va is good. So if you do get the crucial kill on Zen, and eventually your snipers do find the kills that they need, which is really good. So you should be able to win this fight here. Taking high ground is fine.
Mercy one.
Yes.
Bubbling
Yeah.
for us is good.
Thank you. I'm coming.
Saya incoming. Kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him. Did he fall down? Oh, he was pushed.
Yes. Yes, I booked you, sorry.
Okay, unlucky about the fidget spinner. We did get the crucial killer though, which is good.
Everybody dive away from me. And
Wait,
that's
wait,
so
wait.
nice.
Come.
Thank you.
I can try to.
I'm on the reserve.
Oh, same.
So now you're one down essentially. You don't have Rose again. It's going to be risky.
Don't get me.
Getting the health back and some initial damage is fine, but now you also lost mech. It's basically a reset. You're like 3 down effectively. But now you're taking a lot of damage again. You could have maybe gone out without giving them too much ult charge, because you were basically 3 down. It was time to get out, but you were kind of standing around initially, which took you about 400 damage. So you could have maybe just gone out earlier and recognized that the situation was not winnable. Actually, go full screen again.
So Tilda, you have to say when you think it's over.
Now it's
Okay, no walls.
Oh, you what the fuck? Oh, okay.
Armor tilting or being scared.
What happened now?
Till
Pause.
red eye.
Or awesome.
Resident sleeper.
Yes, on this.
Okay, here we go.
D.Va's on top
So you
right,
see the
D.Va's
D.Va
on
up top right.
Wait, yeah, what am I?
You could choose to isolate her if you ult dive her.
I'm gonna drag him.
Okay,
There's a D.Va right
I cannot make it.
So
to
I
you.
wanna go back like 15 seconds ish.
Normally the junket is on
So you see the
now.
D.Va up top right, and she used her fly, which means if you jump this top side right now and body block her, and someone else goes,
I didn't see her use her fly.
let's rewind like 5 seconds again.
It was, on the left
Watch her
side,
movement
normally
very
the
closely.
junket is on this route.
Mercy flies out, D.Va, Roop flies.
Yeah, but I didn't register that. I wasn't there.
Lucky. So it was good to keep in mind. Da-da-da.
D.Va's on top right. D.Va's on top right.
But yeah, in this case, you're going to see the body block mechanic not really working as well in the next 1 or 2 fights away from this. But yeah, you could have just gone up here and body blocked the D.Va, and then have someone else go in from the hallway here and isolate the D.Va, because she was basically alone right now. The Mercy just flew out. But in this case, sadly, you take 200 damage without diving.
I'm gonna drag
You're not full HP yet.
Okay,
There's a
You
D.Va
take
right
I cannot
an initial 150 damage without diving.
make it to you.
And you're in a very nasty spot
I
again.
don't know how.
Now you eventually do decide to go for D.Va, who was still there.
Yeah, I'm right here.
But in this case, again, you didn't really dive a target, and you lost almost all your HP again.
Following.
This is okay, going for the Widowmaker.
Pulse, tracer no pulse.
I'm going top left. Follow.
Because Widow's isolated is good that you go for.
Trying to destroy shield and bongo.
So one of the things that you can really do if you're primal raging,
Destroy shield.
because you just like beat her up forwardly in a forward manner. If
Pulse,
Whoops.
tracer no pulse.
I'm going top left. Follow.
so you've got your crosshair dead center on her,
I'm trying to destroy
and then you just boop her like straight ahead, right? What you can do with primal rage, ooh, that's a bit much. What you can do with primal rage is in the animation of hitting, you can fling your mouse diagonally upwards, and what that does is that it juggles them in the air a bit, and it also prolongs the distance that they get flung towards. So if you then do that, and then you like shift instantly in a normal way, so you have your crosshair here basically, you hit them while moving your crosshair to about there, and then you move it back to normal again, then jump, and then do the same thing again. You can get a primal rage hit in, then the jump damage, and then juggle them into the wall. In this case, you just beat him like this, which keeps you in a very awkward spot where your jump is not in the same range as the enemy being swung away. So you jump past them, you do eventually get some hits in,
Mercy very low.
but you cannot really effectively juggle them. So one of the things you can do is either what I said, aim your crosshair at them, sling your mouse to here, sling it back to normal, and then jump and do the same thing again. Or you could have maybe pressed S when you jumped, or just as you jumped, to ensure that you would not fling as far. So here.
Shield and bongo.
So you could have maybe pressed S to make sure that you wouldn't have jumped as far. Or you could have waited for the Widowmaker to make a move, but
Very low.
it's very vital that you recognize the exact distance of your jump in Primal Rage.
Maybe Diva?
But it's good that you get for the Widowmaker and your snipers get 5 kills collectively, I think, in this fight. So
Yeah.
4 or 5, that's really good.
I'm taking my gun.
Don't have to worry about it. I got him.
Sorry?
If I'm on the Widow, then she is out of the equation, so...
True. And she was alone, so it was a free kill. There's no mercy with her. So that's a good thing that you went for the Widowmaker. Just your execution of Primal Rage could have been a bit more effective.
Whatever was right, I think.
Yeah, she's right.
So one of the things I would definitely do if you win a fight like this is to control the high grounds.
Jumping up. Yeah, they see me. They see me.
Come back.
Because if your snipers have high grounds and they don't, your snipers have a significant advantage. And on top of that, if one of your snipers dies, you can just bubble over it and res it again and go for the same thing again. So basically, by holding high grounds, you would give your snipers 2 opportunities in which they have an advantage.
I just
So it's very vital that you do that.
And we wake it.
You do eventually die, unluckily.
Okay, does it on me? With the bandits?
Diva's going for you.
With the
Tony.
top?
Go.
Yeah.
She backed off. She backed off.
Sonic in top left. The Tracer coming here.
Does it
Yeah.
come
Tracer is going for you.
What on the fidget?
With the main?
Bottom. I hit her.
Yeah, I'm going up. I'm going up.
Because you're going up, you're just controlling high ground, this is fine.
Winston is here.
Now you're waiting for them to kind of make a move. You're both playing counter dive. Winston goes out. Do a stutter.
Tracer on me.
This is good. You see the Widowmaker is completely isolated. This is your go-to target, and she used to grapple as well. I spoke to Grand about this as well. You need to body block this. One of you needs to do it. You need to just like
Tracer on me.
once you commit to grapple hook, she has no real escape way rather than just walking. So one of you needs to hold this left corner here, and just make sure she doesn't get out. And then you can kill her. But neither one of you really body blocks, and that leads to her getting out. You do get the kill on Tracer, so kind of equal.
Kill the
Can you come back,
We
Winston?
don't pay
Monkey's low.
Unlucky you missed your jump. When you miss your jump, it's just time to get back to your team. You cannot fight this in the open without abilities. You take a lot of damage again.
Will I die?
No.
He's feeling desperately. Thank you.
It's unlucky that you missed your jump initially, but if you miss your jump like that, you need to get back to your team quickly. What you can do then is turn your back towards the enemy team and look downwards, so it's very hard for them to hit your head. And then you can swing your mouse around a lot, so your hitbox constantly shifts while you crouch spam and walk towards them.
Nice.
But in this case, you were kind of standing in the open and you didn't have a shield or a matrix because Dave was out of mech.
I attempted to hide that payload.
Yeah. You could have tried it. I can see why you want to go for the Widowmaker because she's kind of alone. But you're still diving in with kind of low HP. And there's a health back there that you can get to. So it's a bit of a risky dive, I would say. It's not in your favor.
Should we fall back? Okay, yeah, fall back.
Widow's on the right side in the small room.
Come back, just come back. Small rooms with the mini.
There were this thingy where you put clothes. I don't know how it's called.
The mini. Right?
Ah, me, yeah. Locker room. Okay.
Okay.
Tracer here.
I'm gonna
Can you hear the fence?
I'm going to.
We're just waiting for snipers to show ourselves. Okay, forward with Matrix. Trace on by side, Trace.
There's at the bottom.
Just going by. Forget about it, just watch it back.
Just stay on one side.
What on top of the ledge?
Yeah,
Tracer behind.
yeah, Trace it.
Sniper on high ground.
This is good. This is really good. Like, as you can see, the Tracer had only one escape route and you isolate that very effectively. That's very well done. Now see, okay, this is what I really like. You're counting down the dive for the Widowmaker, and it's a bit unfortunate that Tiller, I guess, steals the kill credit by shooting her instantly. But the way you recognize that both Tracer and Widowmaker were in a vulnerable position and were diveable, and the way you counted down like, hey, let's go for this, this was really good. This is what I want to see more of.
Monkey next, maybe? Destroy the wall.
Mercy's got it.
You could opt to Primal Rage soon. Yeah, this is good. Nice,
me.
nice.
Tracer low.
Stop playing for
Whistle low me.
Now you're helping your team. That's all good. Listening to calls.
Hey, it's not playing for me.
What I mean?
Oh, it's not?
Oh.
Is it now?
No.
No, reload
Oh.
the page. What part did you miss? Like, what was the timer when you could see still?
Right after.
Oh,
Right after.
I can't hear you, sir.
Right after I killed Tracer.
Okay.
Didn't switch my
Have you reloaded the page? Can you see again?
Try to stop.
unpause. Unpause and pause.
I am doing it. I've done it 3 times.
No, it's loading for me.
Ah, me, yeah.
Okay, I'll just wait until you guys load in.
Still loading.
Okay, but you're in visor again, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna pause on pause.
Okay,
Does it play now?
Oh.
Tracer
Try.
here.
Try.
Trying again.
I'm gonna
Can you
go.
hear the button?
I'm going.
The answer's no. Let me quickly try to refresh the page.
Still.
I think my internet's kind of cooking again because it's saying that I don't have a stable connection. BRB for 1 second. I'm gonna fix my internet hopefully. Okay, can you still hear me? Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Beastmaster Granda, can you hear me? For fuck's sake. Fucking internet. Oh Jesus, tap thousand Christ. Okay, let's hope we connect again shortly. Let's see if I can load some web pages. Okay, football's working again. User disconnected again. Classic. Still no connection. Fuck me. It's starting to work now, okay. Let's try this again.
Welcome
Fucking
back.
hell, internet.
Sound like armor.
Sorry?
Sound like armor.
Yeah, I heard it again. Let's see, could you guys leave the thing again so I can start my session
Yeah,
again?
I left.
Is Beastmaster still in or no?
I've left.
Okay. Okay. Nice, have control again. Already. It's live again.
Locan?
We're at 42 minutes on my screen. Let me know when the two of you are ready again.
I'm ready.
Alrighty. Okay, so what I was
Yes.
about to say here, the way you recognized our DPSR position and the way you dive him was very good here.
Just waiting to snipe us with show us.
So let's just play it again.
Okay, move forward with the matrix. Trace on
See
right
the
side.
tracer there?
To the bottom.
Just going back. Forget about it, just watch
Just,
it back.
just stay on one side.
Widow on top of the ledge.
Yeah.
Tracer behind.
Let's recognize the tracers up there, this is really good.
Sniper on high ground.
And get the final blow. This is really good. The way you recognized she was out of position and could the kill was good.
Widow off, Widow off, you're off.
And like I said, this dive from Widowmaker is very...
Huge.
You saw she was out of position, you counted down the dive, and you get the kill. Eventually Widow got the final blow, but the way you did it was good anyways.
I got it.
And now it's looking very, like, fluid. It's looking very smooth and coordinated. This is really good.
Tracer low.
We saw low mid.
You have your backline, nice.
D on top.
Widow main right to the back.
DK, I cannot hear you there.
Yeah, that's fine, I got main.
Down set.
Now it's time to get out of dodge again. It's a bit risky here. Nice. Helping a backline, this is really good.
I'm going forward, I'm going forward.
Yeah, see Bastion now?
Bastion main, Bastion main.
I said I saw him the second I jumped.
1 second. Okay, yeah, but like, let's rewind again. So you see the Bastion here now. Diving in is risky.
I didn't see. I saw him the moment I jumped.
I see, you could have seen him here already.
Yeah, yeah, but my view was focused on the widow.
I see. Maybe try to practice yourself in keeping a broader view then, but in this case as well, it's very minimal, but you have a 600 HP barrier. Walk to the statue for cover, but you kind of stay here, which does eventually get you killed. You could have maybe made it to cover and just lived, even if you were jumping in initially just by getting to the statue. Eventually you do get the kills necessary, but you could have maybe been a bit quicker in recognizing the Bastion front, and you could have maybe moved to the pillar a bit sooner.
Come here, Tino.
Yes.
Did we? Okay.
I didn't want to approach because if she decided to go for me, she would see me.
And now we're going to go into a rubber mess situation where the enemy is going to restart the map and then leave at some point.
Where?
It's forward.
It is a Bastion, it is a Bastion.
Okay, so it's a Bastion, which means you cannot hold on this location anymore.
This setup was going right side.
Yeah, but also the right side you go to is not ideal at all. But it's not the thing I want.
It's better.
So against Bastion, The thing is, if they have Bastion, they have a lot of range damage, right? Like they have the ultimate powerhouse in terms of DPS. So commonly, teams, if you're at Blue Cross again, will start initially holding here and try to get like an initial pick off on the Bastion or just like a pull to interrupt the enemy team to prevent them from setting up. If that fails, you commonly go back all the way to here. Simple reason being, in this entire trajectory, Bastion has a pretty clear sideline and it can move up a bit. But once you're at these boxes on the right side, these two, you can really close the distance with the payload. And once Bastion is like, once you're up close to the Bastion, you can maybe kill him. Like if he has a ranged bit and like you need to walk towards him, he's gonna shred you. So you need to either prevent him from setting up, or when he's set up, you need to close the distance as efficiently as you can. So you want to take as little range and as little damage as possible. But standing up here means Bastion can shoot you from the payload all the way to here. And if you're eventually going to stand on the bridge here, which means you can shoot you from here all the way to here, which is a very long sideline, and it's too much distance to cross. As you can see, you can still shoot you from here. Your shield's gonna go. Bust.
Now I did.
Kill hold him.
Bastion cannot really get pulled in Sentry form, sadly.
Yes, he can.
He can, but it's very hard to do with all the shields put around him. And because the shield, what's it called? Because the shield is in like an angle shaped like this, you have to get the pull on this side of the shield, which means he will basically be pulled backwards a bit, but still in range of the shield, because you cannot really pull him to the side as effectively unless it's set up poorly.
About the Bastion.
In this case, you've used your halt, your shield, and your shift. It's time to get out, because
I'm going to...
yeah, but you're shooting. You move slower when you shoot.
I know that.
But why did you do it then? Was it just force a habit, or?
I guess.
Let's see. But in this case, you're in like a pretty risky situation again. Your positioning is kind of getting fine. Like if you rotate around the corner left here, you're all good. But you still don't really have any cooldowns, so you don't have a shield to set up with. So you need to just play around the corner for now. I would not use my halter because I know I cannot follow up on it yet. Like since you're still like kind of resetting and just getting your pace back again, it's good to just save your abilities until you can only use them again to take down Bastion. But this pull's a bit optimistic, I would say.
Bastion's low.
Come backwards.
I'm gonna die.
Nice.
You get a good pick here.
Break the battery. Bastion discard.
This is good. Unlucky Granda gets picked.
I'm gonna die.
Bastion discard. Bastion.
Okay, you got the kills. It's nice.
Turn the point, turn the
That
point.
is all we want.
Who got picked now?
I can't make it, I can't. They're falling back, they're falling back.
Okay, now it's kind of okay. You could have maybe halted a bit more. Oh, let's rewind that. You could have maybe halted a bit more to this side because everyone was going there. But either way, you played this fine as a team and you killed the Bastion.
Still here.
They asked for a restart for no apparent reason.
Yeah, there's the thing on the bus.
Nobody's here, so I can fight.
What the,
What happened?
the hell? Have you started the map?
Okay, I talked about this with Grand already. It's a bit, let's say, rude if you will, and very bad manners that they restart the map without really telling it preemptively. If things like that happen more often with this team, you might want to consider not scrimming with them if they do it often. It's a bit weird that they do it without like discussing with you if it's okay. They just do it whenever they feel like it seems. It's basically what you're saying there. They wanted to work their strat, and then they want to restart to try it again. And if the enemy team is okay with that, you can restart, but you cannot just restart like that, I think. Now they're going to go for double shield.
Of course they did the same thing. Now there's double shield. Double shield.
It's okay. It's
Placing
okay.
on the right.
Widow.
You lost one. You lost your mercy. It's time to get back.
Full back, full back.
There's no way you can win this.
No one left. He was rebel.
Just full back and I will pick you up.
You can maybe use your shield on this corner here just to make sure you have it up by the time the Bastion actually turns the corner to make sure it's
Yeah,
not
well,
destroyed.
But I think it's safe to out him to be a passive.
I mean, when your shield is not up, it means the enemy can still shoot you even if you're around cover. Someone might push up. It's more reliable to, or safer, I would say, to save your shield when you really need it and take cover in the meantime, rather than shielding when it's available, because then you might not have your shield when you actually need it. Because, like, if they want to chase you now, you don't have a shield up. Whereas if you stood here normally without using your shield, and they wanted to chase you, you can then put your shield up when it's needed. But in this case, there was not really that much need for a shield, because you were regrouping.
Safe.
It went for the first leg, so.
And it's a bit unlucky again, you put your shield up forward, and you're still regrouping. You do eventually get to this corner, but it's not really ideal, because you do kill the Bastion, but you're not in, like, an ideal position to counter the Bastion comp.
People coming in. I'm
Now looking for targets. What you're doing now is pretty good. You're just focusing on get tanks down. You have to be careful of your own life though, because you're taking a lot of damage.
Come, let's go.
Let's look at your hold there.
There's a panic hold.
It was a panic hold, but if you're gonna panic hold against tanks, hold the ground. Like, let you straight to the ground and it pulls them automatically. You don't even have to second click anymore.
Come, let's go.
And you don't have to worry about the delay between casting the animation holds and actually being able to click it again.
Kill them, yeah, just clean up. Ryan's just scored a goal.
I understand that you like want to fight tanks there, and it was fine because it's your most like reliable target to shoot at. But when you were getting low, it was time to either get back or just panic hold the floor instantly. And they can at least pull them all together for a free shot. Your team does end up cleaning up, and you did get the kill on Bastion, so you kind of dismantled their comp.
Lucia 1. He's dead.
Can I get some spicy damage boost?
Yes, I just did the others up.
I'm almost there.
We don't know that.
Yeah. They need to switch now.
Hunter as well now.
So where are they?
Nice, good pick.
Dead. I like that.
Open our rain.
Not really super much to be said here. They're just regrouping. You're just doing some poke damage. It's fine. Whenever like they're just regrouping and standing in the open, try to pull over the shield so your Widowmaker can maybe get a headshot kill, or you can get some free damage, and it just builds toward ult charge. It's a nice little habit. You want to save your pull for when the fight really starts, but if they're just regrouping and you can get some free damage in, just take it. For now, spamming shield and spamming tanks is perfectly fine. You're building towards your ult. That's nice.
Yeah, he's downstairs. Upstairs.
I'm trying to shoot him.
So now you're playing against Hog or Moira.
He's dead though. He's dead though.
It's okay, peeling around the corner.
Almost have to.
I can rev you. I just need to heal up.
Using his bangles is good.
What? I was banned.
Widow's
No,
behind.
I think I need that. Sorry.
I think they don't have a diva, so I would, because the enemy team doesn't have a diva, I would halt whenever I can, basically, to disrupt their progress and to just pull them off of their good position. And you can get free damage in all the time.
But left
Oh,
corner.
Hawk is in the back. Behind you.
Body shot him.
Pulling the Hog is perfectly fine. He's out of position, it's free damage, it builds towards your ult, and works towards kills is good. So only gets free kills, it's really nice.
Clean up the hog.
Kill the Hawk.
This is good. Ooh, okay. Your initial call to get the Hog was probably the best, because he's the easiest target to kill her.
Clean up the hog.
Kill the Hawk.
So I would have just committed to actually killing the Hog.
But Lucio was out in the open and the squad. So.
True, but like Lucia can get out like a speed demon, whereas Rogue is stuck behind enemy lines. So you could have just gone for the Hog as it was the easiest kill to get. And you would have definitely secured value. You do eventually end up killing him, but the Lucia could have gotten away, whereas the Hog had really no escape.
Oh bloody hell.
Yeah, beware of pushing.
You could have maybe used your pull like backwards, so we pulled backwards and then put your shield, would have created a bit more distance, but it's fine, you get the kill, that's all good.
I meant the Hawk.
Okay, we have. They have B. No, they could push it.
Just wanted to they're subbing mid game. I'll just let it play out.
They wasn't subbing mid game, just one guy left
Yeah.
because he had to go or whatever, and his guy got just automatically subbed
okay.
in. So.
Okay, Sonic, wait.
Like I said, this last match was very messy on their part, like in terms of organization. So it's unlucky if the hull doesn't work, but the hull was good.
Yeah, well, what the fuck was that?
I don't know. I mean, if it happens with them again, you can consider not scrimming against them if they're doing shenanigans like that more often.
We have like a new screen partner every day, so I'm
Okay.
not sure if we're gonna face them once again.
That's it, we'll see.
Do we have an open division tomorrow, by the way?
I think you do.
But I think it's gonna be rescheduled till he's true to his word.
So you do eventually win the map here, that's fine. Okay. So do you have any questions in particular now? Or no?
I guess I just need more sessions. Because it's not just gonna. Every scenario is not gonna be different, so I'll have to. And my victory shout.
Yeah.
Guess I just have to recognize patterns, because it's not like a math equation where this is gonna be like that.
True.
So I guess I'll have to make tendencies, the tendency, or
Yeah.
just work on instinct.
Yeah. So besides like individual mechanical tips or individual decisions, there were several things I noticed you had as habits which you can maybe work on. First habit that I noticed that you kind of lack sometimes is that you sometimes dive in with low HP, and if you're diving in with Winston, you need to have basically full HP before you can dive. So diving in with 300 HP or less is not acceptable. So even if your team is saying let's dive, you need to say no, heal me up first, I need full HP. It's one of the things I would notice. So dive needs to have full HP. Other thing I noticed is that you were quite often times, and this sort of ties in with the dive HP argument, is that you were sometimes a bit hesitant about what to do. So like on the Nepal map, for instance, you were oftentimes, and also to some extent on Lijiang, you were sometimes standing around a bit, not really sure what to do, and in that time you take damage. So what I would advise you to do, especially if you're playing Winston or a dive hero, you need decisiveness. Boop. I hope I spelled it right. Unlucky otherwise.
What would you doing that instead of standing around?
Take a, like, so by the time on Nepal, for instance, that you saw they had Death Ball, it was time for you to flank to the left side without taking damage. In that case, you can dive in instantly, and then you can very quickly avoid damage, and then you can be very decisive in who you dive because you have full HP and you're already in a good position. And that also ties in with the third thing, which is just knowledge of team comps. So you need to recognize the enemy team comp quickly, and recognize what their strengths and weaknesses are. For instance, on the Nepal map, you were playing against Reinhardt Zarya with mostly mirror comp, but they had Tracer, and you at some point had Widowmaker. So you know they had more damage on the front line, because they had Reinhardt Zarya, so you could not fight them like close in the choke, whereas you oftentimes did that. And on top of that, you were sometimes diving in very deep when the enemy had more aggressive dive heroes like Tracer Genji, and you were playing with like Pharah or whatnot. So what I would advise is try to recognize what your team comp is good at and what their team comp is good at, and see what type of weaknesses you can exploit. And the best example I can give of that was when you were running goats and when you were running against goats. Because when you're running against goats and you don't have your own goats comp, you know you have more range damage than they do. But you also know, in the same vein, that once they get to close quarters, they're very dangerous and they have more resources on the front line. So that's one of the things I would recognize what the strength of the enemy team comp is and what the weaknesses are, and try to exploit those as much as you can. Because if you're not running a mirror comp, their strength is probably better than yours, and their weakness is probably the way to exploit. So if you're running against goats, they have a lot of resources on their front line, so your front line is weaker than theirs, but you have more range damage, so you have to exploit that and be more passive in your tank play. What did you want to say?
Well, I guess I have to work on it because I don't know how to recognize strength and weaknesses that well.
Let's think of it this way. If you look at the enemy team comp, just in general, how would they like to play on Nepal with the Death Ball they had and Pharah, Mercy?
On the point.
Yeah, close quarter brawl, so you want to take different angles. Let's see. The map on Legion Control Center, where you played Goats and they played Junkrat and Mei, what did they want to do with that comp?
Shield break.
Not per se that. They want to poke you down from distance and separate you. So you have to all go as a unit, and you have to make sure you cross the distance as quickly as you can without taking damage, because then you're like, their strength is range damage in that case against your comp, and your strength is close quarter combat. So if you can bring the fight to them without taking damage, you've basically circumnavigated their strength, and you've exploited their weakness because they have little resources on the front line.
And sometimes he's just afraid to go too close to a jump rather than May because it gives them easy relevant.
True, it does give a lot of damage, but do know if you're playing Goats, you're going to get Zarya bubbled, Diva Matrix, Brigitte armor packed, Lucius speed boosted, and you're going to get Moira healed. So you can be quite aggressive when you're playing Goats comp, especially if you're playing against a team that isn't running Goats. If it's Goats v Goats, it's just focus on good team play, good ability rotation, and recognizing that.
So, play Goat, be a Goat.
Sorry?
Play Goat, be a Goat.
I mean, you can play Goats comp if your team if your team wants to play Goats comp a lot, that's fine. You can practice it.
We're not really.
I see. Yeah, those are the things I would recommend. Predominantly, I would focus around knowledge of compositions most of all, because that determines how you will play. Like, if you're playing Winston against a team that's very weak against dive, you can go in quite aggressively, whereas if you're playing Winston against Goats, you have to be so much more careful, for instance. And tied into that, let's say this is point 1, this is point 2, you have to be a bit more decisive, because especially in the scrim environment, the entire pace of fights is much quicker than normal ranked games. So you have to really get yourself in a good position, and then really focus on getting your diving quickly, because especially on the Nepal map where you're playing against Reinhardt Zarya, the longer the fight extends, the weaker it is for you guys, because Winston D.Va, they're very strong when they engage quickly. Oh, for fuck's sake. Unlucky internet. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, I'm back. What was the last thing I said before my internet cut out again?
When
Because the Winston D.Va.
Yeah. So basically, if you're playing Winston D.Va against a Reinhardt Zarya comp, it's very important that you know that the longer the fight extends, the weaker the dive becomes, because if you don't get your kills quickly, you cannot get continuous value, whereas Reinhardt Zarya can get that much better. So if you're playing dive against a deathball style of comp, you need to be very quick and decisive. And third point, which kind of like this problem of free to dive HP kind of comes from not being as decisive enough. If you want to dive in somewhere, you need to have basically full HP. But like if you get your decisiveness right, you'll probably take less poke damage. So if you get number 2 right, you probably get number 3 right. And number 1 comp is just general game sense. You need to realize like where their strengths lie and where your strengths lie and how you can exploit it to the best you can. That should lead to good decision making and good positioning.
How do I evolve?
Practice, VOD reviews, and building knowledge of the game.
So whipping.
Sorry?
So whipping myself.
Not per se whipping yourself, but it's just practicing. It's just getting more knowledgeable of the game through VOD reviews. Maybe you can watch like some coaching series. I don't know, some YouTube videos, something that helps you. But it is very vital that you recognize those things, because knowing the strengths of different team comps determines your playstyle.
I've been straying too, because I assume that a lot of them have different facts, so I would. So
You're cutting out a lot again.
basically, YouTube has a lot of different opinions, and I would be confused which one I would follow.
Yeah.
So I haven't been.
You mean like
haven't
different
done-
coaches say different things, or?
Yes.
I see. I mean, I'm just giving you my perspective. If a different style of play works best for you, that's perfectly fine. I would say just stick to what works. But in this scrim block, I could see some mistakes being made that I would say that are like genuine mistakes. And on top of that, if you're not winning like scrims, if you're not doing well, it might be worthwhile to just try something new, you know. But if you find like your own play style, if you find another style of coaching or someone else's advice that works well for you, then go for it. Just whatever works for you and what works for you as a team, you can go for that definitely.
I just want stronger.
And one thing I can say here, that I'm playing with Argyll for a long time, as I told you, Beast. So you actually it will be actually good for me and for you, for us both, to follow Argyll playstyle, because I don't know, I just know how does he play and what to do with him. I don't know, it's automatically right now. So
I mean, it could be easy, but we also need to respect that different people have their different play styles. So like,
yes.
if Beastmaster has his own style of play which works very well, then there's no need for him to copy what I do, for instance.
Well,
like, if it works for you
yeah,
guys as
yeah,
a team,
true.
then you can just stick to that.
Doesn't seem to work today, but
Yeah.
the day after that. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was a shame you missed out on that grand. We had a grand time.
But any further questions or remarks, or shall we cut it here?
But maybe write those points down.
I've got the thing recorded, so I can upload it to YouTube and send it to you as unlisted.
Yeah, okay, so every time I have to find the video.
Yeah, I'll just send it to you. So
That was sarcasm. That was sarcasm.
Oh, sorry, they're cutting out a lot.
I say if you could write the points down, then send them to points number 1, number 2, number 3.
I will write them down in an audio file and video file on YouTube.
No!
Anyways, I'm gonna stop the recording then.